Welcome to the Meet Your Mind online podcast. Today we have James Ellis, who is the CEO from the Harmoney Consultancy Group. I think we'll head straight over to you, James, and you tell us a little bit about yourself and what it is that maybe you find is so important with mental health in the workplace. We can start there.
Yeah, that's fine. So look, thanks a lot for having me on, Jess. It's obviously good to talk to you. I've listened to a few of your other podcasts and everything, and there's always quite a broad range of like topics and things sort of touched on. You obviously put together that plan for us as a company, for Harmoney, to just keep our staff right when it comes to mental health and well-being and all of that sort of stuff in the workplace. And they've actually found it really useful. Like I say, before we jumped on here, I sort of obviously fed that back to you. But so it's been really good. I've had some really good feedback on that. And it's not that we sort of needed it because there was anything that needed fixing. It was something that I'm just aware of, that we want to keep everyone on the right track and make sure that they're happy moving forward. As you pointed out to me before when we spoke, that they've got the right tools, how to deal with stress and, anxiety if they're a little bit anxious. And I think it's really good what you're doing with these conversations to bring conversation like this into sort of normality rather than it being a bit of a taboo subject that we don't want to speak about.
I find that really interesting what you're saying about trying to bring the mental health topic into the limelight, because I'm finding a lot of companies that I am approaching and trying to suggest our services as a company to will still have that stigma. No, we're fine. No, we don't need that. I think I heard a couple of weeks ago about it's not my responsibility to look after their mental health. And I thought that was wild, that we're still living in a day and age where mental health isn't. Some CEOs, some business owners, some managers are still very much like, nope, I don't even want to look at it. So I think it's great that you're even, you even approached it, you're even open to it, and you're giving that set of tools to your employees too.
Yeah, it's important, and the thing is, it doesn't come from a tick box exercise as well. And I think that's really important, that people don't just appear to be doing things that they should be doing, so let's just do it. I think it's really important, and at the end of the day, it just comes from being sort of empathetic towards the people that work for you. They're giving you all of their hours of their day, pretty much. People, however much a lot of people will, like the clock in, clock out stuff, come in at 8, finish at 4 or 5 and leave their work at work. A lot of people, like me included, I've always been this way. When I finish work, I'm still thinking about it.
Yeah.
I can't leave it. And I'm still checking my emails because I don't want to have too much to do the next day, and I want to make sure I'm on top of things. And other people, when they care about your company or they care about the goal that the company's moving towards, do that too. It doesn't matter if you tell them they work 8 to 4, 9 to 5 with a 10 a.m. break or whatever. People do think about work outside work. And for those people to know that you appreciate what they're doing and allow them a bit of flexibility, and show that you care about, the way that they work and how they feel at work is exactly what we should be doing. And I think that empathy comes from being on the receiving end, because I'm an employer now, which is great. But when I was an employee, I have to be honest, and I suppose you won't mind me talking openly on this about the way that I suppose I felt being an employee, but the management that I had and the people that I was working for, wherever I worked, I always felt like, and maybe this is why now I own a company, but that there was a better way to do it. Yeah. Or if my circumstances at the time prevented me from doing something, like you mentioned about sick days as well and people taking time off, I just very rarely felt like my employers would understand my situation, where I was coming from, why I did something, why I made a certain decision. It was sort of their way or the highway.
Yeah.
And as we sort of move forward and we're working remotely and people are being more open to the way that other people work, I would suggest that it's better for the employer to give more freedom and sort of autonomy over the employee, and also it's better for the employee. So, there's obviously, I hope you'll agree with that there's pros and cons to remote working, and, there's plenty of people for and against, I'd say.
Yeah. And you touched on so many different topics there. And I think, and all of them are so valid and necessary to talk about, especially with what's going on. And I think the first one that I'll probably circle back on is that, the sick days. And I think, you've correlated that in with, working in a certain environment. And I was actually thinking about this today when I was kind of doing up the agenda, and that's why I put it on, is I remember, being an employee too, because I was obviously an employee as well, and now I own the my business. But I would find if it got too hectic in the office, or if there wasn't enough support, or I wasn't feeling supported and engaged with my team, then I'd start to build resentment. And when I'd build resentment, then I'd start to be, I've asked for some help for X amount of days, and I'm not getting that support or help. So now I'm going to start feeling a little bit lethargic, and I don't particularly like what I'm doing. And now I don't particularly like the people that I'm working with. So you're checking out. And now I'm checked out. And then it gets to, and then if I do get poorly, I'm going to stop wanting to show up and work those extra hours, because I'm not being valued in my position or in my, in my space. So why am I going to do that for you? And then I think what happens is as that carries on, and I'm starting to get more resentful, more lethargic, checking out a little bit more, I'm going to stop wanting to even show up at all. And if I get the opportunity, if I do feel a little bit sniffly or a little bit poorly, I am going to want to stay in bed. That's not even to acknowledge the fact if I've got mental health issues on top of that, and I'm really suffering inside, then I'm not going to want to get out of bed. I'm not going to want to try and see other people. So this whole cycle of, and you said empathy as well. If we're not being able to show up for our employees or the people that are working underneath us. It just starts. Yeah.
It just starts with that. Exactly. It starts with that. And I suppose I'll just, I know I sort of skimmed over a few bits, and I suppose the way that it ties together, I'll explain what had happened a little bit from the start of the business. So my business is just shy of 2 years old now.
Okay.
So we're a fairly young company. And it was born. So I know we sort of said we'd touch on remote working, but the reason the company exists now is because of the changes that come into play, and the management that I was receiving before, maybe a year before, 12 months before we went into lockdown, and then the micromanagement that followed once we started remote working is what pushed me over the edge. And I'll just explain what that looked like. So I moved to Glasgow from Bristol in 2018.
Okay.
And I took a job as a business development executive for a apprenticeships company, QA, they're called. And basically the line managers that I had, they weren't business owners, they were line managers, right, which is fine. But their understanding of my situation at the time wasn't really there. Now, when I moved up, I was in debt quite severely. So I say severely, but for me it was severe, £10,000. Obviously, some people that's a lot of money, others not so much. But I was in debt by £10,000 when I moved up. I was on my own, so I moved up to be closer to my daughter. So I left everyone I knew, everything, to rent a room in a flat and go to work and to be near my daughter. But I didn't have enough money really to pay for everything that I needed to pay for, and to chip away at this debt, because I didn't obviously want this hanging over me forever. So I'm a plasterer by trade. Years ago, I was a plasterer and pretty handy, So I bought a van, and I thought, well, I'm going to do sales in the daytime, and then I'm going to do plastering in the nighttime and use the cash to chip away at the debt. Now, when my managers at QA found out that that's what I did, they pulled me into an office and said, we're really not happy about you working on the side. This should be your only focus, this job.
Okay.
Now, my situation, I'm quite straight, right, talking. So I said, if you don't pay my rent, it's not really any of your business. You've contracted me hours, and outside of that, I'll do what I want. And that's just up to me. So I pretty much said that because it really annoyed me, because at the time I was obviously working from 8 a.m. till whatever at night on my own and all that sort of stuff. But it was working. What I was doing was working because I was getting work, and I sort of felt a bit offended that was the way that they come at me with it. And there was always comments about it and stuff, and a real negative view. And I was almost seen as like a rebel because I didn't just fall in with the company lines. And there was a lot of people who had been there a long time in this company that were, like, to be honest, bum-licking the management. It's the only way to put it, and I'll just put it that way. They're brown noses, right? And I'm sort of thinking, well, if I'm delivering for your company and my job is to bring in people to take on young people to place in employment, and I'm doing a really good job at that, and I'm respectful and I'm in every day on time and I'm not, doing anything wrong, then I don't really think there should be much of a conversation to be had. And but you don't want somebody sort of giving them an inch and them taking a mile. And I feel like that's what had happened when I was working there. So I got offered a job with an R&D specialist around that time when all of this was happening, and it was a more money, more serious job, and it actually meant I could stop plastering because it was a much better job. So I took the job because of the micromanagement and everything, and the more money. So I took the job, threw myself into it, and with the idea that I wouldn't have to do plastering again. That was it. I was like, right, I'm going to make this work. I'm going to be a master at this, and I'm going to chuck myself into it. So I was working morning, noon and night for this company, even though I was only scheduled the hours, 8 till 5 or whatever it was. And everything was going great for a couple of years, 2 years or plus. And then coronavirus comes in.
Yes.
We have to work from home. I'd always delivered for this company. So for the 2 years that I was there, I'd consistently delivered good value, introduced great clients, and done everything that I was good at. And then when we worked from home, that's when it changed.
Okay.
Obviously, it was a new time for all of us. We all went through this together. Nobody really knew how to deal with this. So it's not any one person's fault.
No.
But I think that what led to me feeling like I was getting pushed away was, regular calls on the hour, every hour to check what I was doing, basically. It's the only way. And it was like, oh, make sure we're doing a call to see how you can be productive working from home. We're going to do a call to tell you to have a shower in the morning.
Oh, gosh.
And then to make sure that you do this and that. And I was just like, look, I'm spending more time on the phone to you than I am to the clients.
Is that quite degrading as well? Being told kind of how to do the job that you've always done and how to kind of look after yourself. Now I think because sometimes there can be this crossover between trying to be helpful and just it being quite downright rude as well. Yeah, I think that's what it is. I think that's exactly like you touched on it there. I think that people are different, right? And this is why it's such a complex topic, working from home and how to manage people. It's never going to be one size fits all because people are just different. We're so different and so complex that it's just, it's remarkable, really, when you think about it. But what the way that I was looking at it is, if I don't deliver for you, then let's have a conversation about what am I doing at home if I'm not doing what I've been doing. Yeah.
And if I am doing what I've been doing, then just let me do it and let me handle how I'm working from home. I don't need you to, parent me.
Yeah.
I'll do the job. And I think as an employer, and again, it's not me complaining about what's happened because look, we've all had jobs with managers and bosses that we don't like. It's just explaining that that's what's led me, I think. And again, no one's perfect. I'm not saying I'm the best boss in the world. There's probably plenty of employees that are like that guy's an arse after a conversation, right? But what I'm saying is, it's those things that make me feel like I have a duty to understand. If someone comes in and tells me that they're getting a second job, why is that? Have they got financial difficulties? Do they need help? If someone comes in and says to me, I'd rather if we didn't have these calls because I've just got this to do. No problem. Look, listen, I'll let you do what you need to do. Let's just catch up on Friday and you can fill me in on where you've been and we'll do it like that. So I think that it's just knowing that each person's a bit different and everyone's going to need a little bit of a different relationship with you. And you just need to be like, aware of that, I think, moving forward.
No, and I think that that's a really good point, because we are all different and we do all, we live life subjectively. We only know what we know. We can only come from our own experience. We could be both on this call right now and we could be both taking it completely differently. It's how it works. And especially I was thinking about this as well the other day, that our working hours are more than we'd spend at home with our families. If you're in the office, if you're working from home, then that's obviously a little bit different. But when we spend the majority of our time with our colleagues and with the people that we work with or work for, and that if we're unable to build solid foundations and relationships with those people, then there's going to be an effect on our work and on how we feel. Do you think that that's something that you feel is important to try and build those solid foundations for the people that work with you?
Yeah, I mean, I like to be an open book. I don't like the closed doors. Excuse me. I don't like the behind closed doors conversations. Oh no, what's that meeting about? Sort of stuff, whispers. Yeah. We do things in the open. We did it when we were in an office now anyway. We sort of let people come and go as they please. But openly, it's like, look, what are you doing? What are you doing with your admin? Sort it out. And you say it in front of everyone. Everyone knows that there's no secrets, which I feel makes it a better, more inclusive environment with regards to that. And it builds a bit of trust with the employees. You say what you're going to do and you do it and you stick to it. And, they do things outside of work together, which, don't involve me. A lot of things we do together, which do involve me. We're going to play football tonight and we've got a business fives tournament on Tuesday. So we do lots of things together as well. We're friends. We're all friends, I would say. And so, some people would say you need to draw the line behind that stuff. But for me, I think that companies that do really good things and go on to do good things, they do have that. It sounds cheesy to say, but they do have a bit of a family vibe to it. They go to each other's weddings, they go on holidays, and that's what I'm trying to build. And I feel like we're getting there. We're even 2 years in. We all are, really good friends, I'd say. Yeah.
And do you think that transpires into the work that gets completed? Because I've got this theory, and one of the reasons that, I do what I do and how I want to be a boss and a manager as well is if people are happy working with me, for me, or in and around me, then the work is going to be, they're going to be wanting to do good work. Like I was saying earlier around that idea, if I'm not feeling comfortable in my environment or I don't get on with my colleagues, I'm going to get resentful. If you're working from a resentful place, work's not good. You're not producing like high quality work, and that is effectively what we're getting paid for, is to produce that work. And I think that's very important to maintain, like you're saying with friendships. But I think, do you find with that like setting in your business that transpires into the work and people do want to over produce?
Yeah, exactly that. I think you pointed it out to yourself with your own experience about checking out, and all it takes is a few, negative comments, negative conversations, being irrational from a boss, questioning you when you've done nothing wrong, not taking on your advice. A lot of bosses will do it one way and not take any information at all the other way and say, oh, could we do this better? Right, okay, that's good. You're hiring these people because you've recognised that they are good at what they do and you need them. Them. So why would you hire them and then point the finger at them and not just work together on it? And I think that when you do that, like you said, it's the opposite of that is checking out. If you want to be not a very nice person to people and just be in charge and bossing everyone around, then they're not going to want to do everything for you. And what you'll do is you'll find you'll have a lot of people come in, you won't pay them very much money, and most people who have any sense will leave your business. So you'll be stuck with people that are really not very ambitious.
No.
And that's not really the sort of people I think you want in a company. I don't want them in my company if they haven't got ambition. I want them to want to move forward. And I think that, the relationships and the friendships that we're building and the praise I give them and the incentives that we put in place. But also I do have to have conversations sometimes, but it's always coming from a place where they understand. And I can't remember the last time I had a conversation with someone and they said, yeah, that's completely unfair what you're saying. Like that's not happened. So, I feel like it's really healthy, and I think it's just important to just treat people with respect, and it goes both ways. It goes both ways, and you'll get the best out of your staff. I don't know. Would you agree with that?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Sound right? Sounds about right, doesn't it? I hope so. I'm just winging it as we go along. It seems like it's working, to be honest.
Yeah.
So I hope I'm right.
And I think we are just, and I think most business owners and managers, unless you've been there before, and we work our way up the scale. We all start working very, very young, but I think we are kind of just going in blind a lot of the time because, we're not really, sometimes we're not sure of how to approach. And I think when what you were saying then, the word that came to mind was conflict resolution. It's not always going to be lovely and perfect and fun at work. It's not. And as a manager, that's what you're there for. As a CEO, that's, you are driving this train. But sometimes, there are going to be times where we're going to have hard conversations. We're going to have to say, I'm really sorry, this isn't working. Why don't we look at it this way? But it's the manner in which we say that. And you said earlier around empathy. If we're able to meet people where they are, then it's going to be a lot easier for everybody to kind of leave that conversation feeling heard, feeling seen, and feeling, wanting to move past that conflict, if it were.
It's like anything. Like, I completely agree. And I think that, it's like, look, I won't compare it to parenting, right? But I've got an 8-year-old daughter, and again, there's no exact science to it at all. Like, she's only 8. I'm sure there'll be plenty of parents probably that end up hearing this that say, you've got it all to come. Don't worry, you haven't sussed it out yet. But and I would agree. But I think the goal is so that I would hope anyway that she'd always be able to come to me and talk to me about anything. Maybe that's a naive thought of me to think that, but I don't necessarily think it is. And if I'm open with her and allow her to have certain thoughts and certain conversations, and I don't just boss her about, then hopefully she'll feel comfortable coming to talk to me about things. And in the same way, it just works the same way when you're dealing with anyone. So I just think that it's really important to do that, and then hopefully everyone will do their job and not think you're too much of a hard ass, which is important.
Yeah, no.
But I think there's trust as well, and there's no option now because of the way that the world is going with the way that people are working. And we obviously spoke about what's sort of getting us to this point, and the working from home stuff is what made me start the company, because I thought, well, if I'm calling from my home on my mobile on my laptop, I might as well be doing this for myself, hadn't I?
Yeah.
And so from that point, it was remote working until we got out of the first lockdown. I think I can't remember what month it was. It might have been September. So I think I worked May till September on my own in the house with a bit of help from like referral partners and things like that. And then in September, I got an office and we was allowed to go back to work, and then I made my first couple of hires, and then we just went from there. And myself and my business partners sort of just brainstormed and sort of orchestrated everything from May onwards. But it was very much just me calling people and working from home at the beginning. But yeah, so I suppose working remotely is something that I'm now accustomed to. Work where you like, if it's in a cafe, if you want to go into the office. And there's massive pros. Like, for instance, there'll be people like, I met a guy in the summer who had a cocktail making business, and his business was always showing people how to make cocktails, just doing training, like cocktail training. What you do, you pay and a group of friends go and do it and all that sort of stuff. Well, when this happened, he wasn't too sure what he was going to do, and he was close to just closing the business. Then he made his cocktail, package and everything in a box, sends it to businesses to give to their employees so they can do online cocktail making classes.
Oh, brilliant.
And his business has gone from there to there throughout the last 2 years. There's a guy who owns a bicycle shop around the corner from me, always just did little bits and pieces and repairs, didn't really sell too many bikes. Everyone's getting encouraged to do outdoor activity because they're working from home. His bike sales go through the roof. These people, and me included, are happy with what's happened, not in general, but the work from home stuff has been a positive impact because it's led to successes. And there's obviously going to be plenty of people out there that have sacrificed a lot, lost a lot. Like, if you told me I had to work at home from 2018 when I moved up to Glasgow originally, if this had happened then, I would have been in a new place on my own. I wouldn't have made any friends from being in the work environment. Now I'd have been stuck in a bedroom on my own in a flat in Glasgow, and that would have been a really negative thing. And there's plenty of people that have done that. So the impacts of working from home are from one extreme right to the other extreme and everything in between. And so I think it's like, when we have these conversations about how to deal with it, and that bringing me back to that point with the R&D company that I was working with that were micromanaging me, it's no good having 40 people on a call and telling them all, this is how you can do it, because you've not been to my house. You don't know where I live. You don't know if I've got an ensuite or a cinema in my house and I'm all right in a complex, or if I'm on my own and, I'm sort of relying on that social interaction to feel good and to get that social activity. And that's where I got it. And, was at work. And so I think it's really important to sort of make that observation that it's different for so many different people. And that's why we can't just put one size fits all approach to it.
No. And it's true, because, I was when lockdown happened the first time, I was actually in Thailand, but I was in the pokey room in Thailand because we'd just moved. We were looking for somewhere new to live, and we thought we'd go into a little B&B for 5 minutes, and then we're there for 3 months, And it was.
I actually remember speaking to you about that before.
Yeah.
When I was going to come, me and my other half were going to come out, and I had messaged you about it. And you were stuck in that sort of hut place, weren't you?
Yeah, and it was like, so even though I was in this really tropical, lovely world, part of the world, I was really, I was in a tiny little bedsit. But that's where I created Meet Your Mind, so I kind of went, all right, well, this is what we've got to do. This is okay. So that was okay for me, but it wasn't okay for other people, so I do get that. And I think it does. And I think the key ingredient to letting, or having, how do I put this into words? I'm trying to say that in order for us to move through past anything, whether we are employers, employees, going through a world pandemic, doing any of these things, that key ingredient is mindset, and you said it there 100%. Yourself, and you're obviously, testament to that. There's been obviously trials and tribulations over the course of you building your business and prior to that too, but it depends on how we think. And I think we have to have that we have to take on that responsibility to say it's our responsibility to figure this stuff out, and then it's also our responsibility to pass this on to the people that work for us too, because what good is it standing at the top of the hill going, I'm the queen of the castle, when we've got all these people below us that that also need our help too. So and they're the ones that have actually helped us build it to be standing at the top.
100%. And it's we've made such huge steps with these sort of discussions. Definitely, I think about it now, and I'll just be honest and sort of explain from my personal circumstances, things. But I think about now when I was younger, and I couldn't really pinpoint why I wasn't very happy. I didn't know, but I just weren't. I was always full of anxiety. I was always worried. and like depressed, and I didn't really ever. And it's sad to think that when you think about your younger self, like 14, 15, whatever, 16 even, just thinking, like, I don't really see what the point is. Like, I'm never going to, like, house prices are too expensive. I'm never going to be like that guy that owns a house. I'm never going to be like, nah, there's just no point. And that's how I felt back then. And it's weird because, not weird, but it's good that at this stage now, and this is why I think it's important to have these conversations, is kids like that now understand, and it's an open conversation, so they might be able to, whether or not they're going to be able to move on from those feelings or not, but at least identify what it is. Because I just didn't know. It wasn't even a conversation. You know, it would have just been like, oh, man up, mate. Do you know what I mean? Suck it up, like, sort of thing. So I feel like, and obviously going back before me being 15, 16, even more so, like the older generations, even more so, just pull your socks up and get on with it. So I think it's really important that we have those conversations. But social media has definitely played a huge part in us comparing ourselves to others in a really negative way. And when you're looking at what someone's doing, like people might see, and this is why I wanted to, happy to have this conversation and everything about this stuff, because when someone might see what you're posting on Instagram or Facebook or whatever and think, oh, he's got a nice car or whatever, he's in a nice place, you're not going to post like stuff because you don't want to share like vulnerability. There's nothing wrong with, not sharing this stuff because it's intimate and it's your personal stuff. Sharing a car, it's just an object, but sharing that you are anxious about something is a personal thing to share.
Yeah.
Now, so it's not a negative for not sharing that, but because people don't share that and all you see is that nice stuff, you think, if you're in a bad place and you're seeing someone, I bet he's had it nice. I bet he's had it nice. When I first moved up to Scotland, there was times when I used to get into the office about half an hour before anyone else because I didn't want everyone looking at me when I walked in to the office because I felt like everyone was watching me and I had to walk past everyone to get to my desk. So I'd make sure I got in and sat down before anyone else was there. And if I hadn't managed to get in earlier, I'd be fucking... but I'd be rushing for pardon my French, but yeah, I'd be rushing to my desk to get in and have my head down. And there was nights when I remember walking home, which was like 45-minute, 50-minute walk instead of a 5-minute tube, because I got to the subway and there was just too many people on it. And I just felt like anxious that everyone was looking at me. And obviously they weren't, it was just in my head, but I just felt like all on edge. So I had to just walk out the station, and that happened so many times. Then, because obviously maybe because of the move and I was on my own and stuff like that out there, but and that's why the whole thing with the employers being really empathetic towards your situation and maybe taking the time to understand why you need to do 2 jobs or where you're at or what's going on is really important, rather than just sort of suggesting that someone's doing something wrong.
Yeah.
So for me, that's really important that people are honest about this stuff, because all of that stuff that I might show now, I'm 33 this year. It's not always been like that. You know what I mean? So it's important to be honest,
And thank you for sharing that, because I think that's really important. And you make it's such a valid point that. And like I was saying earlier about the whole Thailand trip, everyone was like, oh my God, this must be amazing. But I was in my head and I was like dying inside because I was filled with so much anxiety and stress, and I didn't know what was going to happen, and I didn't know whether I should go home, and then I couldn't go home, and it was all these, and I was like, what do I do now? And then I just had to put one foot in front of the other and just go, do you know what? We just have to take today by today and see how we go. But I don't think it's not extraordinary that we've gone through that. I think everybody goes through it and we all do it. But like you say, it's not positive to stick that on social media or to go, hey, I'm struggling a little bit. Or if I say this, I don't know if you're going to meet me halfway or if you're going to judge me, and then I'm going to feel even worse. And I think by opening up these conversations and by saying, do you know what, it is okay to talk about it, and it is okay to feel like, excuse my French, shit, and it is okay to say that it's a bit of a tricky situation right now, and I'm not sure what I'm going to do, but I'm going to show up tomorrow, and we're going to try again. And because there are a lot of people that don't have that opportunity to even know that it's safe to say that, because that might never have been their experience before.
Yeah, definitely. And I think people that maybe push it to the back and feel like they can't say it are probably the ones suffering the most, I would say. So, when you're younger, you lean into things that maybe heighten the anxiety, and you lean into things that maybe heighten the things that make you get inside your own head too much. I think that as you get a bit older and you live for other stuff, like obviously I live for my daughter now, and my life's changed since she's come around, because it's not about you anymore, it's about them. So then things get better, but when it's about you, it's not good, which is what I felt. But now it's about her, things got a lot better. So I would definitely say that then just bettering yourself, those feelings got less and less as she got older and older, and I spent more and more time with her. Those feelings got less and less, and obviously you find yourself in a position where I sort of know what's good for me and know what's not. Still get a bit worried every now and then about stuff, but it's all normal stuff that's manageable. I try not to drink too much because I really do suffer with the fear. They call it the fear. It's the fear. About a month afterwards. So yeah, I try not to drink really too much. Like last year I went sort of 6-7 months without drink, and then caved in the summer. This year I'm determined to make it the whole year. But yeah, so I think it's really important to do that. And again, you can sort of be then a role model for the people that work for you, because they might, lean towards more positive stuff as well. Maybe go on more walks, less nights out, more meals out, stuff like that. And, hopefully we can make a bit of a positive impact on on their life as well as their working life,
Absolutely. And I think that is important, and leading by example, especially when you are running a team of people, they kind of do look up to you, because that's, it's just that hierarchy mentality, but it doesn't, and I try not to be, I'm like, I can't do anything without the people that work with me. I can't, and I'm only one person, and I can't create all of this stuff that we do as a business without everybody that works with me. And I'm at the bottom of that chain. These guys are at the top. I'm sat at the bottom. I've got a few ideas, but they're not coming to life without them. And but either way, like the stuff that I say and what I do, and even more that I've got a podcast and my business is primarily around mental health, I have to show up and lead by example. I can't be out every weekend getting smashed and then come into work on Monday be like, oh my God, I'm having a mental breakdown. Because it's like, well,
you've got to eat your own dog food, haven't you?
It doesn't make any sense. So yeah, it does. I hear you. Before we wrap things up and kind of head off for today, is there anything else that you have felt, over the course of, I don't know, you running your business and being an employee, that you found really helpful, and tools that you've done that have helped maintain your mental health and and try and show up in the best capacity that you can in your working day?
Yeah. I think that you need to take time, and this has been difficult for me. You need to take time to focus on other things outside of work. So you do need to switch off. However much you want to make progress and want to get somewhere, when you get there, it's not going to be, it's not over then when you get there, because you've got to keep going. So it is more of like, it's a cliche, but it's true. That's why they say it. It's more of a journey than a destination. And so I would say that you need to find the right balance that works for you. And if that's, playing computer games or going for walks or spending time with your family or whatever it is, you need to be doing that, and you need to switch off from your phone, something we all struggle with. I do struggle with, so I'm not like at one with myself, like a monk or anything like that. But I do switch off. And I've done it more and more as time's gone on. At the beginning, for the first year, it was non-stop. I was working stupid. Like from when I woke up, I'd be laying down on the phone, like in bed on the phone, talking to people about work until 12 o'clock. And then the same thing over and over again for the first however long. I go and see family and I'm on the phone, and I've got my laptop open and I'm on the phone while I'm visiting grandparents or, my mum or whatever. And I'm on the phone and I'm just, they're glad to see me doing well. But I've learned that, listen, that opportunity is not going to go anywhere. We're getting there, and you can maybe give yourself a bit of a break and take a bit of a, not a step back, but you're allowed to have a couple of hours in the day. And as an employee, I think that's really important as well. I think that one of the things that I would definitely say is bring to the attention of the people who are in charge how you're feeling. If you feel like you can't get your head wrapped around this certain bit of work, just tell someone. Don't sit and struggle with something for too long. Don't dwell on problems. Just when you recognise a problem, look for the solution. Don't go around in circles. Look for a solution to the problem, and that's what I would say that I've sort of done over the last couple of years, and here we are. So
brilliant, thank you, and thank you so much for taking the time to speak to me today. I really do appreciate it. I'll put all of the details of your I'll put all the details of your business on the podcast, and if anybody is interested in what James does, you'll be able to find it all there too. All
Perfect.
Right.
Thanks, Jess.
Welcome.
Cheers. Have a good day.